Well, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. What I'd like to do is talk to you about an idea we're working on, and I want to talk to you about a resource, a challenge, and an opportunity that supports the shift proposal, policy, and aging well. The first thing is the resource, but here's the story. You know, you have to take your car in to get it serviced, the tires changed, and all that stuff. Well, I do that, and on the way, I get a drive back from the shuttle service. And over a period of time, I had 3 different men driving the shuttle service. So each time I'm driving back with them, I say, "What did you do before this?" One guy said, "I was a project manager." Okay. Next person was a police officer. The next person was a delivery person in the city. And all 3 had the same story. I said, "Why are you doing this?" "Well, we retired, and then we just got bored. We wanted to do something with our life." I said, "Really?" So after each of those trips, like everybody else in Nova Scotia, I went and got a coffee. Nobody works at 10 o'clock in Nova Scotia, I swear, nobody works at 10 o'clock. Anyway, so I go into a coffee shop, and who are sitting there? Retired people reading the newspaper. And I'm going, "What are you going to do with the rest of the day?" "I don't know." So I said to myself, we have an issue here. We knew the demographics, and we started to look at it. We have a resource sitting here who want to be engaged with a sense of purpose. And so I started talking to people about this. "Tell me what you do." And when I'm going to tell you about the project in a minute, I said to people, "I'm working on this," and people would say, "Well, I have an aunt at home who would love to do that. I have an uncle, I have a father, I have this." I said, "Okay." So what I started to look at is, how do we utilize this resource for the betterment of people? Now, here's something that's interesting. Those of you who have worked in a job and had a business card, when you take that business card away, you take away an identity. And sometimes people just say, "Well, you're finished. Your card's not there anymore." I remember talking to a gentleman. He worked for a major, a federal, a government department. And he retired, and I saw him a couple of years later, and I said, "How are you enjoying retirement?" He said, "Well, it's a funny thing. When I worked in this job, I had more people come to see me, and it was, I was really happy with that. And when I retired, no one wanted to talk to me." I said, "Really? Why do you think was that?" "Well, my job was to hand out money for projects, and I thought they liked me. They just wanted the money." So, here we have a resource. That's what we have. That's the resource. What's the challenge? You know what the challenge is? What's the future of work in Nova Scotia? Think about this. What has changed in the workplace in the last number of years? Issues like global trade, technology, social media, trends, all these issues are changing the way we work. Now think about this as well. I can see this crowd here. Some of you remember this. You used to go to a gas station and someone come out to fill your gas tank. It's gone. You used to go to supermarkets. Someone used to bring the groceries out, put them in the car. It's gone. Now slowly they're taking away the cashier and they're starting to replace them. I know people who will not go to the automotive thing because they say that job is being replaced. Supermarkets call this service. Think about it. You do all the work. So that's taken place. Fast food restaurants becoming automated. You go in, you push the buttons, you order the food. I talked to them. I said, "What's different about this?" They said, "Well, we want people now who can talk. We want people to go around and be talk to the people around the counter because you're just going to pick up your food." So that's interesting. Retail. Pretty soon you won't have to leave your house. Everything's going to come to you. Okay, think of the work and the jobs that are disappearing in that. A lot of those jobs were entry-level jobs that allowed people an opportunity to move up in the system. It allowed young people to learn how to talk and communicate. You know, that's a big issue today. God, who thought of that? All right, so Here's another one. I heard this on radio 2 weeks ago. In 10 years, we will not need any long-haul drivers for 18-wheelers. Now think about this in the job situation. And all of us lived through, those of you over 25, the opening and closing of the video store. That's gone, right? Okay, so with this, now that's the situation. Now I'm going to tell you some stats. 1 in 5 university students who start university in the Maritimes drop out after the first year. 1 in 5. 32% of students who go to the community college in Nova Scotia in a diploma or a 2-year program drop out after the first year. Why is this happening? A lot of people and young people today are trying to figure out, what is a career? How do we get to do this? We also have, I'd say, between 75 and 125,000 people in this province trying to find work, and they're on EI, community services, and other forms of funding. The federal government came out with a report, and they said, we're going to have to change the way we learn, work, and train people in this country, because jobs are going to disappear and change in the next 10 years. So with all that, we created something called Mentoring Plus. We said the resource over here, the retired people, can work with young people, 16 and over, unemployed people, different sectors of society, around what is a career and what's the future of work. And what we're doing is creating teams of retired people so that they can work on projects. So for example, we have a number of projects that are on the books, and we've been having sessions like this around the province. We're in Sydney one day, last spring, we had 20 agencies in the room, and they come up with at least 15 different ideas how retired people could work with them in a project. We're having sessions next week and the week after in Truro and Kentville, and if you want to go, get hold of me and you can drop in to see the sessions, what they're about. Because what we're doing is we run a one-day training program. This is what's going on in Glasgow, and it takes you through a process to understand what we're trying to do. On the Eastern Shore, I was down there last winter. What they did, they assessed 100 retired people, and they had all their skills up on the wall. We had artists and doctors and farmers and everything. These are resources that could help young people and young adults figure out what to do with a career, okay? So, as a result of all that, we are in a process of taking this forward. And, but here's what this leads to. This is the first step, because you know what? We're in something now called the knowledge economy. And we have to start looking how, as a resource, can we help out that next generation of young people and young unemployed people. Remember those stats I mentioned back about the 20%, 30%? They're the kids living in the basement. The parents are not knowing, what are we going to do now? So this is a big issue we have. But what I'm trying to show you here, this is the first step of a process. You have to look at mentoring, at least they can see what's possible, they can look at a career possibility, and they have to start looking at a learning plan. And we have to change the way we learn. The institutions are fine, but there's got to be other ways to do it. So this is an interesting process. It engages retired people who have skills and knowledge, and we create it into a social event. I want you to go to Tim Hortons as a group and sit there and say, what can we do for this population in this town? This is going to have impact if it's properly done over the next period of time. Individually, retired people will benefit, loneliness, health, all those issues. You know all about that by being engaged. The young person's going to learn what the job's not going to be there. Why do I want to do it? And that's what we want the retired people to do. We're doing a project in Glasgow, and I'll quickly tell you this. We're working with grade 10 students. We gave them a survey. They picked out 10 careers. We're bringing in 10 retired people to talk about those careers. So there's a process started to get this connected and make sure that young people and others have an opportunity. This, what I think, will help people out, but also will help the province out. Thank you.